I am Megan and welcome to Battle Royale with Cheese, the website you can get all of your TV and film news, reviews and trailers. And yes, you're getting a video a couple of days after the last one. This is going to be a very different tone because it is now the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. So this is 30 years since the game's first released, and I thought it would just be fun to just do a review on the very first episode of the Pokemon show and take you back all the way to the 90s, to my childhood. I remember being about 6 or 7 because it came out around near the time of my birthday, and I remember being in the living room and watching the first episode of the very first season of Pokemon. Yeah, I think it was about 6 or 7 because that's when it came over to the UK. And I was obsessed, like, immediately. I think the show also came around at the right time as well. Like, I was that age gap, that age demographic. I mean, you know, I'm in my mid-30s, but I'm still a Pokemon fan. But that shows that how influential and how huge this franchise has now become 30 years later. And yeah, I'm going to take you back all the way back to the late 90s and review Pokemon I Choose You, the name of the first episode. I think this is a really good opening episode. Right from the get-go, you're introduced to the iconic Pokemon theme. I still think it's one of the best ones next to Pokemon World, which I think is from the Johto region. And yeah, from there, it's a catchy song. You get introduced to some of the Pokemon in that intro theme. The first 2 Pokemon you see is Mewtwo and Mew, who you won't actually see properly until the first movie. You get to see all the main characters and all the main cast, so Ash, Brock, Misty, Gary, here, who is Ash's rival. You get to see Team Rocket. At the very beginning, you're told Ash Ketchum is a boy from Pallet Town. You're told how old he is, and you're told he is at the age where he can become a Pokemon trainer. And I do want to bring up the fact that it's still insane to me that 10-year-olds can own a Pokemon, which, by the way, is a monster with special powers. Essentially, that's still insane to me to think about of what the process is. But this first episode does introduce you, the first 10 minutes, I guess, does introduce you to the process of becoming a Pokemon trainer. You've got to pick your starter Pokemon. Here are the starter Pokemons: Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle. You get shown a lot of other different Pokemon through Ash's merchandise that he's got in his room. So already we're being shown so many different Pokemon, and this continues throughout the episode. It shows you a lot of different Pokemon, which I think is good because it tells you, one, this is going to be an ongoing series and an ongoing show. You're going to be finding more of these creatures and introduce them properly later on. There's not just going to be one series. This is going to be quite a long, you're going to be committed to this long term. You're introduced to Pokemon battles. Literally the first scene that you ever see is the now famous Gengar versus Nidorino battle. Due to Ash oversleeping and completely missing the ceremony, he misses out on the 3 Pokemon that we were introduced to, and instead gets Pikachu. Pikachu in this time is a bit sassy. He's a bit sassy, he's not very well behaved, and immediately they don't like each other. Or Pikachu definitely doesn't like him. It seems very one-sided. And this does continue throughout most of the episode until they are chased down by a herd of Spearow, which is a bird-type Pokemon. During the chase scene, we're also introduced to Misty as well, who is the water-type gym leader. And I never realised that the first episode is when Ash first steals her bike and promises that he'll give it back. By the way, he never does. He never does. But I never realised that was the first episode. I thought it was like the first, third or second episode. I didn't realise that was right at the beginning of the show. So they already set up, okay, here's going to be the reason why Misty goes along with Ash throughout most of their show. Here's what she looks like. Here's the idea of, you're going to see her later on when he goes to battle her in the Cerulean City Gym. I nearly forgot the name of the city. The Cerulean City Gym later on, which doesn't happen yet. I think the moment I like the most is near the end of the Spearow chase, where Pikachu and Ash, they've tried to bike to shelter and to the Pokemon Center, the nearest one, and Ash falls off the bike and they end up in the mud. And the Spearow herd is like gaining on them, catching up to them, and Ash has this whole speech of, he stands in front of Pikachu defensively and goes, you know, I'm the one you want, I was the one who annoyed you, because he tried to catch a Pidgey by throwing a stone, ended up missing and throwing the stone at Spearow instead. Great. great, tactic, Ash. But he has a whole speech of, Pikachu is not at fault here, I'm the one that's at fault. If you're going to attack anyone, attack me, but leave Pikachu alone. That's the moment where Pikachu finally realises that, oh, I can trust him. He is going to be by my side the whole time, and he is going to protect me. He was serious when he said he was going to protect me, and attacks Spearow back. But I think I like that speech because, one, it shows you how passionate he is about becoming a Pokemon trainer. Two, he's passionate and will strongly defend and protect Pikachu no matter what. He'll put himself even in harm's way to do that. But it also means that Ash gains Pikachu's trust, which is a huge turning point. I think I would have liked that moment to happen for a bit longer. So maybe that ending speech happens and him going to the Pokemon Center, I don't know, maybe happens for a bit longer. The second episode could maybe have been Pikachu in the Pokemon Center and realising that actually he can trust Ash. There was a lot going on in this episode, and I think most of it is actually really well paced, but I do think Pikachu trusting Ash did happen a bit too quickly. Bearing in mind what his behaviour was for the previous amount of time in the episode. He's not very trustworthy of him. Pikachu's a bit of a sass. He's a bit sassy. Doesn't really take Ash seriously. So yeah, I do think that happened a bit too quickly. Plus obviously the animation style for the show has now changed, and this was the original style. It changed around sort of the mid-2000s, and while I like some of the new animation style for Pokemon, it is nostalgia, but I can't help but love the original Pokemon animation. It's so detailed, it's so lovely. It's less vibrant, but the forests and the rivers and, the natural environments that they go into, I don't know, looks a lot nicer. It looks a lot more realistic in terms of this is what you'd expect certain places to look like. This is the colours and shadings that you'd expect certain plants, rivers, that kind of thing to look like. But at the same time, it is also nostalgia speaking as well. I've gotten used to the old animation style for such a long time, and the show had this for such a long time, that when the animation style was changed, there was a little bit of a backlash, and I can kind of understand why. Granted, the Pokemon do look great in the new animation style. Yeah, nostalgia's talking to me. I can't help but love the old animation. You also get introduced to the show's humour, and this is where I do prefer the older show and the older seasons. They didn't really care about taking a risk with the humour. There's at one point where Ash doesn't understand a Rattata, who is a rat-type Pokemon, and the Pokedex that he gets, which is a little computer device that tells you about the different Pokemon, it's a bit sassy back with him and calls him stupid. We need more kind of humour like that. I feel like the Pokemon animation recently, granted I haven't watched Pokemon Horizons, I do plan on doing so, but it did seem at one point there seemed a bit of a shift in the humour. It seemed a bit more softer and gentler. Whereas if you watch the original series, and especially the later episodes, Ash gets really sassy. Ash gets really sassy. But it took a risk. It didn't really care about doing that risk. Obviously, it didn't go into adult jokes, but it did sort of yeah, it was a lot more sassy compared to modern Pokemon. But yeah, this is probably a very rambly, messy review. But I wanted to review the first episode of Pokemon, the show, the original first episode, way back in the 90s for the 30th anniversary. I can't believe the Pokemon is 30 years old. I feel so old. Yeah, I remember watching the original series in the first episode as a kid. I vividly remember that. So this is so weird. Next week I will try and see Cold Storage. Send Help, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go and see because I mentioned this in the Iron Lung review or another review. I think it might have been the Looney Tunes one, actually. I did try and go and see it, but Iron Lung basically dominated the cinema. I didn't really have a good enough showing that I could go to that was either not too early and like at stupid o'clock at night, basically. So unfortunately, I think I have missed that one out, unfortunately. I do want to go see Cold Storage, and I know that Disney's Hoppers comes out, I think the 6th of March. So I'm going to try and go and see that one as well. But I have a weird feeling I'm away that weekend. So we'll see what happens next week. But this was my review on the first episode of Pokemon. I was Megan. This is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.